Check it out. Yeah. We get in the 81 Escort wagon up on the rotisserie. That's right. We're gonna put this sucker up on the rotisserie just like we did the convertible. And guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna cut this sucker in half. Okay, so for those familiar with the convertible projects, here's what's going on. We've decided to keep the front half of the car. Hold on. See? The front half of the convertible EXP. And what's going to happen is this front half will get welded to what's practically the back, what I say is the back half of that Escort wagon, but in reality we're using two-thirds of the wagon. So if you can imagine, because this is the whole front end of an EXP minus the body panel, so that's the front unibody subframe, or not subframe, unibody frame assembly. So that's the whole front half. This here is the doors, so that's what we'll call the middle, and over here to the right, that would be the trunk area. So those are the kind of three quadrants of EXPs and Escorts, especially when they're two doors. The three, they wouldn't be quadrants, they'd be thirds. the three sections, that's what they are. But on the wagon, they're just as long. It's just once you get past the engine bay compartment, starting around the firewall area, from here on all back, it's all really just one section really when you look at it. But so what we're doing is, you can see there's not much for floors left, and it's not because I've cut them out, it's because they've fallen out. I've only removed everything that's shot, and I didn't even get all of it. I just got most of it. But anyhow, you can see that there's rot galore going all the way down the floors. Getting not really up the firewall. It ends right here, right at where the firewall meets the actual floor. So we're doing pretty good there. So that means that we'll be able to cut this EXP right along these lines where all the rust is, and take the Escort and do the same thing, but we'll cut a little bit further on that side of the line so that we can trim it to fit this perfectly, weld it in, grind down the welds, and it'll look factory. So that's, as far as the floor goes, that's what we're looking like for the Escort. Because the deal is, between EXPs and Escorts, they're identical from the firewall backwards. Well, within reason, okay. The floor pans are identical. The only changes we run across are the A-pillar being different, because EXPs are special, while all the Escorts are the same, no matter which door configuration you have. And then with the EXPs, there's only two doors, so they're nice and long, and they butt up here right before the rear wheel. But the two-door Escorts are the same way. They're just like that, minus the different roof line. EXP is 2 inches lower, thereabouts. But the four-door Escorts, they do have a B-pillar right here, actually. It's darn near where my finger is, and then they continue going on to almost touch the rear wheel well. So aside from that, these cars are identical from here backwards. So I picked an 81 because I coincidentally had good access to a rust-free candidate. That's what that silver 81 wagon is. And that's what we're going to use on this guy. But it being an 81 was important because the floor pans are identical to 82 EXPs. Which means a couple things. I mean, until late 85, where you get the second gens, with the smoothed over noses. These were pretty much unchanged as far as the floor goes. But I've noticed some differences. Well, I guess I take back everything I just said. As far as the square dash cars go, square dashboard cars go, 81 to 83, they all look identical to this. No changes whatsoever. But in 84, the tunnel in the center here got a little wider to fit a different console design. And they used different exhaust components. I think that was part of the necessary change there. A couple other things, and then they changed a few minor parts around the floor pans and then further back, like around the spare tire compartment. But they're still largely the same if it wasn't for the transmission tunnel difference. So it really had to be 81 to 83 for me for it to be a quick, easy deal. If I had an 84, I'd risk having a real fat, wide center tunnel here, and that's going to be problematic when I'm using all stock 82 interior. Things won't exactly look right once the carpet and center console and seats are in. Things will look pretty off. So there was that, and 81 and 82 are the only years of Escorts that have the brake lines that run into the interior of the car. And that's what this is. You can see that here. They have these little plastic clips that are, sometimes they're screwed, sometimes they're push tabbed in, like this one is. Sometimes they're riveted in, and they're little brake line retainers. So the brake lines just go on the other side of the little clips, like it does way up here. And they go they go along the inside of the car, just like so. Right here where the rear floor pan comes up, and the actual rear seat pan goes right here. The right line comes across that, comes up, goes right here, right before it goes back out of the car, right by the rear wheel, and then this left side does practically the same thing. So I wanted that just to help ensure that there wouldn't be any differences, and sure enough, when you have this next to the Escort, there are no differences. If I run across one, I'll let you know, but it's really not there. Aside from the extra hardware for the fold down bench, there's nothing. That's it. So we're going to swap so this will, at some point, this will be from this point back completely 81 Escort wagon, and then we'll remove all the doors, we'll remove the B pillar, we'll change out the rear quarters for what the EXP is, and then we'll better reinforce the body to be a convertible, and then we'll have the car all done. So I'll show you the quarter panel difference in a minute, but what's going on is I wanted to show the reinforcements. I'm not going to say stock reinforcements, but it's the reinforcements that the conversion company put in when they turn these into convertibles. So no EXP has this here. It's like a 2x4 hollow square steel tube, and it's right in front of the door hinges that go straight down, where they have another one running all within the rockers to here, this point. I don't know what distance this is, but I need to measure it, because at this point, this is where the rocker panel ends, and your quarter panel takes up the space and the whole rest of the car. But the deal is, for whatever reason, they you can see how they assembled these here. They cut a hole in the front here. These never look ugly, and they're in stock form. They're not spot welded here. A whole bunch of gaps. Ford always overlays their metal, kind of like so. This is one of the few areas that I need a patch on the actual front half of the convertible. Everything else is extremely nice. Anyhow, they cut this along here, and then they inserted their square tube all the way down until it clunked, because it hit the end of the rocker. That was their length. They cut it, put this piece in. They welded this to that. And then keep in mind, this is still loose inside the rocker. And then they welded this to the body in not very many places, just a few places. And then they covered back up the hole that they made. Now down here, this isn't connected to anything within the rockers. It's hard to tell because this one, there's so much rust in there that actually is together. It's been rusted together. But this one, not so much. Yeah. You can see it move within the rocker every time I kick it. It's not bonded to the car in any manner, except for that one 2x4 square stock upright that I showed. And then in the rear quarters of the EXP convertible, there's like it's either 1/4 inch or 3/16 inch flat steel plate that they put on the inside of the quarter panel where the interior is. So it's, if you remove the plastic interior panel, it's immediately behind that. You'll see it. They had to cut a giant hole out for the seatbelt mechanism. So if you get to the point where you can see the seatbelt mechanism, you'll see the giant thick plate. They weld that onto here, and then it's shaped like so around the wheel well. So they weld that to the wheel well, and then along this point here, it goes up against the door jamb. They weld that to the door jamb, and that's all there is for the convertible structure or structural integrity, aside from a small rear strut tower brace. So we'll go back over to the other cars and we'll show you those body panel differences we were talking about. All right, so this is that rear section of the convertible that I was talking about. This is the whole back half of the car that you couldn't see, or I should say the back 1/3, because like I mentioned, this is the back 1/3, and then you have the door area, that's the middle third, and then the front third is just the front end of the car. Anywho, had to cut all this out just because they're, between this and the floors, there was just no saving it. And you'll say, well, the seat pan looks great. And it does. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the seat pan. Same with the shock towers even, actually. But spare tire well is gone. You can see there's Bondo galore, and there's even more Bondo on the backside. Plus, there's countless holes. I mean, that hole's supposed to be there, but there's loads of other holes. And then on the backside, all the suspension is really rough. These are the insides of the quarters, and they're really rough. They're toast. You gotta get replaced. This side in particular is the worst, so that's just getting changed out. And then we'll walk on over to the panels that I cut off. Actually, real quick, this is one of the panels I have to save still. This is the rear taillight valance of the EXP. Of all EXPs, they never changed. So I do need to remove this because on the back half of the Escort and EXP, there are only 3 differences. Well, actually, as far as the convertible goes, there's only 3 differences. There's this, and then the 2 quarter panels. And I suppose the trunk. As far as the normal cars go, there's a bunch of differences as far as the trunk and roofline and doors go. But in regards to what I need to do with the convertible, this is the last piece that I need to retrieve and save. And I've already gone and filled out all the rivets. Some of these were really rough. Ford got real messy with some of their pinch welds, spot welds on that right side, but the left side they had done quite clean, so I was able to drill through them quite clean. Because I hate grinding those. Just taking an angle grinder to them that makes a real messy mess. But also, it only leaves you behind thin crap. And then these are my rear rockers that I've had to remove. These guys I'm going to save. There's not too much wrong with them. They're not even really dented or damaged by any means. It's just certain areas are extremely rusty. Like this here, this is the rocker panel, and it's done. So that's just getting replaced with the Escort one, like I said. And then where the quarter here, you can see there's this rusty seam here. It's where the quarter meets the rocker. The quarter is going to get reworked on this bottom area. Same in any spot where it's kind of holy like this. And then of course same story with this quarter panel. It's just that the other one was loads worse. But this one, or I should say these, are going to be a lot easier to save when they're off the car. Plus the car is a lot easier to sort with them gone. So with them off, we'll be able to patch some of this stuff quite easily. These really don't have all that much rust in comparison to the middle section of the car and the back third. Yeah, so we've removed all of that. So pretty much we're just ready to start cutting up the wagon here. And yeah, just like I said, we'll cut a lawn where the firewall meets the floor pans, and then we'll be using the entire body. I shouldn't say the entire body, the entire floor pan. Then I'll actually have up for grabs. I'll be selling both rear wagon quarter panels, all 4 doors from the wagon, and the entire front end. And all of which is in great shape. There's no dents on any of it. Just some rough spots that someone caught and fixed. As far as the rest of the car goes, there's hardly squat for rust at all. But there are other parts that I have. Like I got this 81 to 88 trunk, and it needs to go. You need to find a home for that. These are those square plates that I was talking about. Those are the rectangular holes that go inside the, or not inside, they go around the seatbelt mechanisms. You can kind of see it there. It's that silver rectangular box down there. So that's what those go around. Those were welded in right down in here. And they'd hug the wheel well quite nice, and they'd hug the door jambs quite well. But yeah, so it's pretty exciting. But the next part, so pretty much that was all the hard part. From here on out, it's just terribly slow, because what will have to happen some way somehow is we cut up this car right about this line here, but a little bit more that way than this way, because we want to have extra on the half we need, and we can have less on the half we don't need, because having more allows us to cover up any cuts or issues that we've ran into. So more is always better. But then we have to go through, we have to cut off we have to separate this chunk from like underneath. There's support rails that connect the whole front third to the middle third of the car. We have to grind those off from the whole middle and back thirds of the car. And like I said, we have to change out the B-pillar, plug up the rocker panel where that was, remove the rear quarter, put the EXP rear quarters in, change out the rear valance, which is going to be very easy because this is the wagon. When you remove the hatch, there's not really anything there in the middle. That's a pretty easy swap. But the big thing is going to be lining up this part of the wagon to what was this part of the EXP, lining that up perfectly, both side to side, up and down, and then tilt up and down, forward and back, and then skew, twist, everything like that. It's got to be dang near perfect. There is some room for tolerance, but not much. We're going to try to do it the best we can. The nice thing is the people that converted it, they didn't do all that stellar of a job. So I knew that the way it was, it only needed some improvements to become a really good machine. a really good convertible. So the bar is set kind of low. We'll exceed that threshold greatly. So, but yeah, just keep an eye out as we go along. You'll see more videos on this wagon and wagon specific stuff, and you'll see more stuff on the convertible. Extremely rare stuff, extremely special stuff, because no one's restoring those right now, except for me and a buddy picked one up recently, and he'll be starting that sometime. We just don't know when, but so far I'm the leading source on the EXP convertible stuff between me and Andy Hiller. But anywho, I'll let you guys go, and just keep an eye out, and let me know if there's anything specific you want to see in these videos or any kind of videos. So let me know. I do these to entertain and educate you guys. So I just want to make sure that you're enjoying it, and at the very least finding it useful. We'll catch you later.